During a recent visit to Gdańsk on Poland's Baltic coast, I came across this message, Lechia Remembers, painted on a garage opposite my flat for the weekend. It was simple but powerful and it inspired this video. Football isn't just a game, it's a story, a tradition and a way for communities to connect and endure. Few clubs embody this better than Lechia Gdańsk. Through this club's incredible history, which I only came to learn about by chance, I've come to truly understand the depth of meaning football can hold for people. Lechia's story is one of resilience and identity and is deeply intertwined with the history of the Polish people and the people of Gdańsk. It highlights the bond between a football club and its community, a bond worth protecting, especially today as the sport's local traditions are increasingly overshadowed by commercial interests. In this video I explore the journey of Lechia, from its roots in the ashes of Poland's first football club to its role in the solidarity movement of the 1980s and how the club's story mirrors the broader struggles and triumphs of Poland in the 20th century. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to the channel and share your suggestions for other clubs you'd like me to cover in the future. This story actually begins over 700 kilometers away from Gdańsk in Lviv, a city once considered Polish, now known as Lviv, lying in modern-day Ukraine. In the early 20th century, despite being part of the larger Austro-Hungarian Empire, Lviv was a hub of Polish culture and intellectual activity and had become an epicenter for growing Polish desires for an independent nation of their own once again. Following failed uprisings against their Austrian and Russian rulers in the 19th century, Polish nationalists turned to a new strategy they called organic work, building national identity through culture, education and sport in an attempt to further build momentum toward an independent Polish state. As part of this wider trend, up rose the first Polish football club, Lechia Lviv, founded by students from the city to represent the Polish identity in a sporting form. The club was a founding member of and competed in early iterations of the Polish Football League until the Nazi invasion of Poland at Westerplatte, Gdańsk in 1939, which brought football and life in the country to an abrupt halt. Lviv would fall under Soviet control soon after, as Poland found itself sandwiched between World War II's largest and most aggressive forces. World War II would devastate Poland. Cities were destroyed and hundreds of thousands, if not millions, were killed. To make matters worse, the decisions of the Allied powers following the conclusion of the war to redraw Poland's borders without consulting the Polish government in exile resulted in millions of Poles being displaced and the nation of Poland being pushed westward. Lviv, once a hub of Polish culture, found itself annexed by the Soviet Union and absorbed into the Ukrainian SSR, and the Polish people of Lviv, including the founders, players and fans of Lechia Lviv, were forced to leave their homes following forced expulsions by the new controlling authorities. But in tragedy, there is resilience. In 1945, many Polish citizens resettled in the port city of Gdańsk in northern Poland, and a group of football enthusiasts from the local shipyard decided to revive their hometown club. They named it Lechia Gdańsk in honour of their roots. The shipyards of Gdańsk, which would soon become the epicentre of global political shift, had become the new heart of Lechia. In the ruins of post-war Gdańsk, Lechia became more than just a football club. It was a symbol of rebirth. Poland had been shattered during the war. Cities were destroyed, families displaced, infrastructure ruined, and yet, amid the dust, life began again. For those who had lost their homes and heritage, football was a way to preserve a sense of self. Supporting Lechia wasn't just about Saturday matches, it was about reclaiming a sense of community and continuity. In many ways, the story of Lechia mirrors that of post-war Poland, birth, loss and rebirth. As the Polish saying goes, historia się powtarza, history repeats itself. Almost 40 years later, Poland found itself under martial law, a grim chapter in the nation's history. Protests against the communist regime that had ruled over Poland since the end of World War II were widespread, and the solidarity movement, led by Gdańsk's own Lech Wałęsa from the Gdańsk shipyard, was gaining international attention. Amid this turmoil, Lechia, a club deeply tied to the working-class spirit of the city of Gdańsk that was leading the rise against the political establishment, also found itself in the headlines. Off the back of an unexpected Polish Cup victory in 1983, Lechia Gdańsk found itself facing none other than Italian giants Juventus in the first round of the European Cup Winners' Cup. Juventus at the time was stacked with stars like Michel Platini and Zbigniew Boniek and were reigning Serie A champions. The match itself was an incredible underdog story, with Lechia, a second-tier Polish club at the time, taking on one of Europe's best. A 7-0 first leg victory for Juve in Turin meant the result of the tie was something of a formality, but this did nothing to dull the excitement of the Lechia fans, with over 30,000 of them packing into the club's 12,000 capacity stadium to watch the most famous night in the club's history. The game was topsy-turvy and ended in a 3-2 win for Juventus on the night. But the real significance that night was what had happened in the stands. As the half-time whistle went, an energy had begun to rise in the crowd. Through the break, the crowd, defying the oppressive atmosphere of martial law, could be heard chanting Solidarność, Solidarity, the slogan of the anti-communist movement and the name of the Gdańsk-based trade union leading the charge against it. The fans of Lechia, on behalf of the vast majority of Polish people, were making their feelings known. Jerzy Jastrzębowski, Lechia's coach at the time, recalled the emotional resonance of the chants in the dressing room, saying, "In the dressing room we heard all this noise and people were chanting Solidarity. It sent shivers down our spines." Lech Wałęsa himself was in attendance, witnessing this extraordinary moment where football transcended sport and became a platform for resistance. The significance of the match meant that it was broadcast on national radio and TV, which was rare for the time, and the chants could clearly be heard by those listening at home, so much so that broadcasters were accused of muting the microphones pointed at the crowd in an effort to prevent the sentiment from being heard by those listening elsewhere. What happened that night was one of the catalysts for the growing anti-Soviet feeling in the country and helped set off a chain of events that would eventually lead to the toppling of the communist regime in Poland and the fitting election of Gdańsk's own Lech Wałęsa as the first democratically elected leader of the new Republic of Poland in 1990. Lech Wałęsa later spoke on the match's significance in reducing the impact of the smear campaign being ran against him by the authorities at the time. "They hoped the nation would turn their back on me, but they were wrong. That match gave us some strength for what would come next." The people of Gdańsk, many of them Lechia fans, had played their part in changing the course of history. Since that incredible night, Lechia has had its ups and downs. Promotions, relegations, a bit of a yo-yo club to be honest, with some serious financial troubles thrown in for good measure. But none of that changes the core of its identity. The club remains a proud symbol of Gdańsk, of post-war survival, and of ordinary people's power to resist. From Lechia Lvives to Lechia Gdańsk, from exile to rebirth, from cup glory to political defiance, this is more than a football story. For the people of Gdańsk, Lechia isn't just a club, it's a connection to the past and a bridge to the future. And for football fans everywhere, it's a reminder that even in the darkest times, the beautiful game can still unite us, inspire us and move us forward. Well, I hope you enjoyed my first foray into video making. I won't be so pretentious as to call it a documentary since it's not even 10 minutes long. But I've genuinely really enjoyed making this video and learning about the history of Lechia and the club and the city. The city which I highly recommend for a visit if you get the chance. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and a subscribe. And drop a comment if you have any feedback, because I'm obviously new to this. And I'll go ahead and look for another story to unearth while I'm on the train to work. See you soon.